Paper was like gold in medieval times.
Oh, not tobacco, sugar.
That everything we thought we knew about the world might turn out to be completely wrong.
Madagascar is like nowhere else on Earth. The fourth largest island in the world, only a few hundred miles off the east coast of Africa, yet a place which the rest of the world seems to have passed by. As a result, it's got its own unique creatures and cultures. And very few people ever visit Madagascar, let alone television cooks in search of new culinary delights. It was once a French colony, but they moved out in the 60s and left behind a legacy of crumbling buildings, happy if poor people, and rich surprises. Madagascar may be twice the size of Great Britain, but it feels like a small tropical island. It's got a population of 12 million, and at first sight it seems that they all live in the capital, Antananarivo. The streets here are just teeming with people, and every day is market day. It's one of the poorest countries in the world, but everyone apparently has something to do, even if it's just walking up and down the road looking busy. Although Madagascar is so close to Africa, it's like a different continent, where the people and culture are a mix of African, Polynesian and Arab, with added ingredients from the French colonists, together with a smattering of British influence. Life in Madagascar seems to centre around buying things and selling things, anything, and the marketplace is the hub of the capital.
This is the Zuma market in Madagascar. They say it is the largest open market in the world. Now, I wouldn't know that, but I've only been here for 24 hours, and I'm going to attempt to cook 3 of the most classic Madagascan dishes, one of which is made from 3 lots of meat. Here, it's made from beef, from chicken, and from pork. And then, back up to me, please, Chris. It's a very slow cooking thing, and these dishes are very fatty. It's also cooked with bread, which is a kind of a local spinach. And it's cooked, to your right, Chris, with tomatoes. And it's cooked with onions. And back a bit, it's cooked with ginger and garlic. So the first dish that we'll start, this will all become clear as we go along, I assure you. Well, it will be clear, even though I'm, in fact, totally confused at the moment. Someone just remarked we've got a bigger audience than some pop groups get, so it's bound to be fairly chaotic today. So we'll start off with the national dish, which is called a romazav. And it has beef, lots of beef. Goes into the pot. And then we simply cover that with a little bit of water and let that cook for about half an hour. Okay, the next dish is going to be the duck ritra. Now this is duck cooked with lots of ginger, lots of garlic. Back up to me, please, Chris. Lots of garlic, tomatoes and onions. And again, it's just covered in water, and that cooks for about half an hour or so. Then we move on to our festival dish, the dish they have for weddings, for births, for really happy occasions, is made from pork, very good fatty pork, and eel. Now, back up to me please, Chris, because of all the paddy fields around here, there are lots of eels, and it's a very popular and delicious dish. But once again, we put a little, unusually in this instance, a little bit of oil into there, and we just cook the pork lightly. And you can see it's very fatty pork because the Madagascans really like fatty food. Now this must not take colour, we just seal it. It doesn't brown in any way whatsoever. Anyway, so that's okay. We add a drop of water into that, like so. Now, no Madagascan meal is complete without this fearsome concoction. This is chopped fresh ginger and chopped fresh chilies. And it's used instead of any kind of salt or pepper. They do not add salt or pepper to their cooking. This is highly excellent. Oh, Chris, just go back again, please. I want you to have a really good close-up of what a real cameraman looks like. You see, he's a professional, you know what I mean? Anyway, back to me, please. They're from Madagascan television. They're filming you, filming me, filming us, filming them. We're all filming everybody. Anyway, time has passed. Something like half an hour has gone by, and a couple of glasses of wine have gone down. It's got hot in the sun. Never mind. And I've swapped all the pots around because the fires are of different strengths. Now, the pork that I put in for the festive dish has now cooked away. It's nearly tender. The next phase is to add some of these beautiful sweet red onions. We put a few of those in. In fact, we put quite a lot of those in, like that. Then we add a load of tomato, like so. Stir it well in.
Then, 20 minutes cooking time later, we add the eel pieces so they absorb the flavours of pork, pork stock, tomatoes and onions. And 15 minutes after that,
To give it the real Madagascan flavour, just stay there, Chris, if you will, we have to add a nice bit of ginger, chopped ginger like that, and a good load of garlic. Now, the point about that is that garlic and ginger is almost raw in there, so you get the real flavours from the fresh ginger and the fresh garlic. It's not cooked, okay? Right, come over here with me for a second, because to eat with that, we have to make our rougaille. Now, the rougaille is so called because it is the trilogy. It has the three colours of the Madagascan flag. It has the white of the onions, which go into there. It has the green of the spring onions, and it has the red of the tomato. So red, white and green, those are the colours of the flag of Madagascar. We stir it round a little bit, like that. We put a good handful of salt into that to make it sweat, to make the juice come out of the tomatoes and the onions. And this is what the Indians would call a sambal. It's to take away the fattiness that comes from these Madagascan dishes.
the Malagash normally don't use much salt, but I feel it's important to bring out the flavours.
Right, a piece of the eel, the onions and the pork and the tomatoes, some more pork, like so. There's a lot of Indonesian and Arab influence in the Madagascan cooking. Then we garnish that with some of this wonderful rouge d'ail. That's to take away the fattiness. I'll place it down there. And then to give it its salt and pepper, the really spicy stuff, we add the satay, which is the minced up ginger and chilies. That is the completed dish, pork and eel. Okay, now to continue with the duck and ginger, I have to lift the duck now, which is almost a confit of duck, into this pot. We add lots of ginger, a lot of ginger, quite a lot of garlic, some onions, quite a bit of tomato, like so. We stir all that around, and then add just a little bit of water to enable the onions and the tomatoes to cook down into a sauce with what fat is left over from the dish. Where have I done my lid? That lid will do. That goes on there and cooks away for another 20 minutes or so. So the feast is nearly complete. Okay, right, we're now going to continue with the romazav, the national dish. We now put some chicken into the beef and into the pork and let it continue to simmer away until all these lovely things are cooked. I'll give that a quick stir. See, there's very little water left in there now, so the stock, such as there is very concentrated.
The same ingredients, tomatoes, onion, garlic and ginger, are added to the national dish of pork, chicken and beef. And half an hour later,
Final process of the national dish is a few handfuls of bread, which is a kind of a spinach. So, our feast is in fact finished. Here we have the pork and eel. Then we have our duck and ginger. And finally, the national dish, beef, pork, chicken, and bread, the kind of spinach. So there we have a tableful of Madagascar.
When the French left Madagascar in 1960, they left behind them not just their language, which was banned for some years, by the way, but some fine old examples of architecture, like the main railway station in the capital. It could have been plucked straight from any French provincial town. What's more, they left behind a chauffeur-driven train. Actually, it's more like a lorry, but it runs on the main railway lines, so they call it a train.
Bonjour.
The Michelin train was born of an idea by that well-known traveller and gourmet André Michelin, who, back in 1929, was on a train journey from Paris to Cannes with his son Edward. André got fed up with the noise of metal wheels on metal rails and asked his son to investigate the idea of trains running on rubber wheels. It worked, and in 1932, 2 of these remarkable trains were put into service in Madagascar, where, subject to the occasional breakdown and puncture, they're still running today. You know, Hector, that we've endured some fairly horrendous train journeys in our time, but believe me, it was a joy to hire this train for a trip away from the hustle and bustle of the capital and out into the countryside, into a land of red mud villages, rainforests and paddy fields.
After a hard day's hot air ballooning or whitewater rafting, or indeed travelling in a curious rubber-tired train up the Madagascan mountains, and at the same time trying to make a television programme on very limited resources, there's nothing nicer than to come home to a nourishing bowl of soup. So, Chris, if you could stand up without falling over in this wobbly bit, here are the ingredients: some diced chicken, some rice, some chopped onion, lots and lots of lovely sliced ginger, some parsley, some thyme, some coriander, and just back here, an onion stuck with cloves for added flavour, and right at the back here, at the end, we'll finish it off with some lemon juice. So the first thing we pop in is our chicken pieces. There's a piece of the carcass in there to give us more flavour in terms of stock. Chicken pieces go in.
The chopped onion goes in. Then a handful or so of parsley. And finally, an onion laden like a mine with cloves. Then a handful of thyme, and we cook that for a couple of hours. Then we add a handful of ginger and let it warm through so that the ginger remains crisp. Add coriander and some lemon and lime juice and a couple of ladles of cooked rice. This makes a superb dish for a train journey. This part of the island is the Central Plateau. It's about 1,400 meters above sea level and was, not so long ago, covered in lush vegetation. But most of the Madagascar people live here, and as a result, vast acres of forest have disappeared. But I was really enjoying the journey and the view, but then, predictably, the train broke down.
Qu'est-ce que se passe là?
Il y a une panne moteur, quoi.
Moteur en panne?
Oui.
Oh putain. This is actually real. We'll have to walk or something because the motor's broken. So can you get them out? We'll take the cooking stuff down and we'll do it further down the track.
Wherever I am in the world, it always seems to end up with people gazing into dead engines with puzzled expressions on their faces.
Yeah. Talk about being trying to organise a brewery.
While I and a trusty collection of helpers attempt to make the best of things and trudge off into the distance to prepare something to eat. Happily, today's little mishap occurred in one of the most beautiful parts of the island. So, undaunted, we unloaded the train, lit my trusty charcoal stove, set up a kitchen, and prepared a picnic under the hot afternoon sun. And for starters, my chicken and ginger soup.
Mixed juice. Right. Too much ginger and not enough salt. Can't win them all, can we? Anyway, Chris, this one is for you because you've had such a hard time on this shoot. You don't eat meat. I thought I'd make for you the classic spicy salad. Let's spin round the ingredients so you know how to make it when you get home, if you get home. Grated carrot, green beans and cabbage. Curry powder, ginger, garlic, onions, mustard seed and a few peanuts. And the first thing we do, pop a bit of oil and wine vinegar into the bowl. Sprinkle in a little bit of curry powder, like so. A little bit of ginger, not too much ginger because I've already OD'd on the ginger fairly seriously. Fair bit of garlic, some nicely chopped onion, a couple of mustard seeds. They're very fine, so I haven't ground them, like so. And then into this, oops, we tip our grated vegetables, very simply. We turn all these lovely spices and herbs into that. Give it a really good mixing. And finally, because there grow so many of them here, toss in a couple of peanuts and one final mix. So that's going to be for you in a minute after we've cooked another dish, especially for you. There's one here, however, that is not for you. Would you like to have a look at it? Here they make the most wonderful smoked duck breast. And they also have the most wonderful mangoes. So I made a little salad of that, actually Scott did. And then I made a dressing of oil, vinegar, little pieces of lime, coriander, a bit of garlic, a bit of ginger, and also the red peppercorns which grow here in profusion in Madagascar. So we put a bit of that over there like that. A little bit around the mango. I don't think that's odd because in Thailand, for example, mango is served with hot dried chilies as a little cooling afternoon snack by roadside vendors. Now, what we have to do for you is make you a rice stir-fry because you've been so good refusing to eat zebu and crocodile and stuff like that. I thought I would attempt using this mighty wok. Let's hope it gets hot fairly quickly. First thing we'll do is not put vinegar in, we'll put some oil in. And then, because I'm in a bit of a rush, move some of those things very quickly there and bring up the next lot of ingredients for you, which is rice, the local spinach, which is known as bread, tomatoes, the leaves of the local spinach, some green peppers, and, would you believe, for a change, some more ginger. The first thing we do is put some onion in. A little bit of garlic. How much do you like garlic and ginger? That's good. He nodded. Yes, excellent. Then some ginger. Then we'll pop in a couple of whole tomatoes or tomato pieces. Some stalks of spinach. Then we'll add some green peppers. Some leaves of the spinach. A little bit of rice. Oh, and Chris, I've cooked two things for you. Some stir-fried rice and local Madagascan vegetables, and some piquant salad. The director will now take the camera while you can assume the role of food critic. You may lift up the plate if you want, because the cameraman might want to see it.
Yeah, look at the food. Come on. Very good, Keith. Thank you very much. Not bad for carnival. Thank you.
Well, at least the cameraman was happy. Of course, if he'd said anything else, he'd have been on the next plane home. Anyway, it was time to move on from the Highlands, and while all the cooking had been going on, the train had been repaired. So I summoned my loyal team of porters and decided that, since this is an island after all, a trip to the seaside was in order. Many islands like this one have been swamped by tourism, and villages like this have been razed to the ground and replaced with smart hotels and resorts. But this is Madagascar, and so far it remains comparatively undiscovered. In smart holiday resorts, the locals are wheeled in for the benefit of the tourists to show them how life used to be. But here, it's for real, and the fishermen of Majunga on the northwest coast of Madagascar live and work today just as they've done for centuries. As you know, Hector, I like sailing, but a trip with these chaps is a far cry from the yellow wellies and smart plastic yachts of a cow's regatta. These pirogues, dugout outrigger canoes, originated in Polynesia, and as crude and ungainly as they may look on land, in the water they whiz along at breathtaking speeds to the fishing grounds, where I was assured, of course, of a bumper catch. But as so often happens when the Floyd team arrive, the fish vamoose. Well, they say things go wrong in threes. A busted train, no fish, and a broken boat.
A usual Floyd fishing trip. Lots of boats, lots of baits, and no fish. But to make matters even more fun, the crew support boat, from where they film and everything, has broken its prop shaft. So this ancient sort of proa is going to tow them back to harbour, and if they don't behave properly, I can quite easily slash the line and lead them to float away to Kingdom Come. So we're back in the bar for a pasty.
It was hot. It was a real touch of the boy stood on the burning deck stuff. But never mind, 2 hours later, we were back ashore, tired and hungry.
From For Whom the Bell Tolls to The Old Man of the Sea, I have been a fan of Ernest Hemingway, but I've never been able to make it quite to Cuba. But if you're a fan of Hemingway and you like rum and you like fine women and good food and a risky lifestyle, then Madagascar is the place for you. It's a tough, rough, exciting, exotic, sensational location, which is also supplemented and complemented by a wide range of splendid foods to eat. I came off the beach today ratted, tired and angry, and my good Samaritan friends said, hey, just come on in here, you can use our kitchen, you can have a drink here, you can relax, take a shower, but you have to cook us something. So I'm going to. Chris, come in, spin round the ingredients here. We've got here in Madagascar wonderful crabs, wonderful lobsters, wonderful spices, peppers, chilies, lemons, limes, coriander, ginger, fabulous fat prawns, exotic fruit like mangoes, sliced garlic, ginger, chilies, spring onions, carrots, tomatoes, and stuff like that. And you just spin around all of those. You can always pick up close-ups later on if you want to. So I thought, for these people who took me in when I was really busted flat in Baton Rouge and heading for the trains, I thought I'd cook them a little original Floyd dish involving some of the fine ingredients that Madagascar has to offer. So the first thing we do is whack a bit of oil into the pan onto our trusty wood-fired stove. First thing we do, throw in a few carrots. No big deal to that. While they're just settling down and feeling very happy, I'll have another swig of pasties. And of course, the sundowner here in this part of the world is the most important event of the day. Okay, we get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, but the most important thing is to have one of these around about 6 o'clock as the sun crashes into the ocean. So, carrots are in. That's good. And they're sizzling. We're cooking on wood, but it sounds like gas and it's rock and roll and it's going very well. So we throw in, then we throw in the onions. Then we throw in our red and green chilies. And we swizzle them around. And where's my bowl, please? Don't forget my bowl. And then we chuck in some garlic. Sliced garlic, because you just cook it very lightly and crunch through it. You get the wonderful flavour of garlic coming into your teeth and down your throat and into your tummy. So there we have that. Then a little tiny bit of ginger. Sliced julienne, we call this. I mean, all the proper cooks on television would call this julienne de gingembre. But what we call it here is sliced ginger, okay? So, in some finely diced tomato. Here we have a beautiful base of sunshine vegetables. Look at that. Absolutely magnificent. Tomatoes, garlic, ginger, carrots, peppers, chilies, all those wonderful things. Now that's the bed, that's the basis of our dish. Now, while that stays there and I put a little more oil in to the pan, and those you say I'm oiled, well, it's only because I had to take some suntan oil. There's nothing serious about that. While that is happening, we then toss into this hot pan some of these fabulous prawns, which I've knifed down the back so that when they go into the hot fat, they'll butterfly out and look really attractive. Just you wait and see. Now these luscious lumps of crustacea will go a vermilion red, and they'll be just very slightly raw on the inside because they've got such a good flavour that you don't want to overcook them. See how the colour's coming through right now? This is the colour of Madagascar, l'île rouge, the red island. Fly over it, walk over it, and you will see the colours of the land, the terracotta, the red, the bleeding sun is the colour of these prawns that are cooking in the pan right now. You see, this is marvellous. Why can't I tell you what? I do a really outrageous thing. If only English women could be as attentive and as caring as the women here in Madagascar. They just want to do everything for you. She told me off my clothes weren't correct. She's tidying up my knives. They're sensational people. Anyway, back to the rum, of which I've drunk not a drop. We flame our prawns. With a little rum and with a little more ginger and the exquisite fruit, the mango, tossed with the prawns. And flambéed lightly. Hemingway would turn in his grave right now, and my hosts indeed are turning in theirs because they're petrified that this gun-running smuggler's hole that I've borrowed here for the afternoon might just go down in flames. But it doesn't really matter. Chris, can we have a loving and a caring close-up of that spectacular mélange of mangoes, ginger, and prawns? And then, if you would, allow me to place it on top of that mixture of superb vegetables and take it to my hosts, all of whom, in the interests of security, have asked not to be filmed during this sketch. They are very rich, sinister men. Gentlemen, thank you for your hospitality. There is a snackette.
Delicious.
Is it okay? I mean,
Very good. Very good.
can I just try a bit? Because
But you've got to try this part with the ginger.
put the ginger right inside.
The ginger and the mango.
Yeah.
You mix the whole lot up like that. There. Try that.
Good man.
An excellent dish, good company, and a superb sunset. Can you blame a chap for staying on and having a few rums with his new chums? Answers on a postcard, please.